Start. So I am again recording my lectures on a relationship between fracture and friction of materials. Earlier I gave the online talk, that's webinar on these topics, but later I realized that the quality of the sound was not good. So I thought that once again we should record these lectures. Next. The outline of the presentation is background of fracture, friction and adhesion, friction of hards and soft solids. I shall also discuss the experiments on fracture, experiments on soft solids, for example, rubbers and elastomers. The purpose of this talk is to establish the relationship between fracture and friction. Finally, this talk will conclude with the conclusions of the whole content. So friction is a non-conservative force which opposes the relative motion between two contacting surfaces, such as solid-solid. Friction may also arise between the fluid-fluid if there is a relative motion between the two layers or solid fluid. Friction force is basically an internal force, and it is a consequence of Newton's third law of motion, because when you apply the external force on a mass, and the mass if is on another surface, it attaches on another surface, then its force will develop in the equal and opposite direction. For example, the sketch, the figure which is given, it is shown that a mass is placed on a surface, and a horizontal force, push force, is being applied. Basically, this push force is a shear force, because friction is a shear force. So friction develops in form of shear stress force. If you divide by the area of contact, then that will give you the frictional shear stress, simply the shear stress. Okay, and this force will also cause the motion. What is interesting aspect of friction is that it is in all material length scales, ranging from atomistic scale, for example, superconductivity, electrical and magnetic resistance, to geological scale, for example, earthquake. Friction has both advantages and disadvantages. For instance, without friction, it would not be possible to walk, run, uh, run the machine, and but this disadvantage is also uh, uh, causes loss of energy and materials, because the surface of the sliding mass wear out in the form of the bearing materials, that wear, that is what we call the wear. Despite having been studied scientifically, the different aspect of friction for last 5 centuries, many issues related to friction are not understood. So I mentioned you that the one advantage of the friction is that for example, you cannot ride the bicycle because there should be enough friction force between the road and the tire of the bicycle. Okay? And similarly, you cannot walk on the surface. I shall discuss briefly the friction laws of hard surfaces. Friction force is proportional to normal force, but it is independent of apparent area of contact. This law was proposed by first Leonardo da Vinci in 15th century, in 15 around in the end of in the 15th century. And what he observed that irrespective of the mass of the sliding body, the friction force, magnitude of friction force is the same, uh, which is also obvious from the sketch which is given in the. But Vinci didn't publish the results. Later, Amundsen's in 1699, almost 200 years, and then Coulomb's, they repeated the experiment. Okay, and they found that the Vinci's law, the Leonardo da Vinci's law, is valid, but but they came out with some additional friction laws, and that is known as the Amonton's Coulomb friction law. But later it was found that the friction depends on the area of contact, wetting time, and slip velocity. As technology advances, people carried out the more advanced friction experiments, and they are able to observe these behavior of the friction. In recent time, which is the rate and state friction, which is a modification of the Coulomb's friction law, is found to be quite successful in explaining the variety of friction phenomena. So Amonton and Coulomb, basically they published the 3 laws of friction. The force of friction is directly proportional to the applied load, that is known as Amonton's first law, and the force of friction is independent of apparent contact area. And third is that is known as the Coulomb's law of friction. Kinetic friction, which is also known as the dynamic friction, is independent of sliding velocity. But static friction depends on time of contact. So during the time of Coulomb, he was able to establish that suppose the two surfaces are staying together for longer time, then static friction will depend on the time of contact, which is also known as the aging time, hold time, time of contact, wetting time. So there are many names, but because history, this static friction is a history dependent. It depends on the history. For example, the aging time as well also depends on the slip velocity. So in this talk, it will be shown that the static friction depends on the slip velocity and time of contact, while the kinetic friction is independent of aging time but depends on slip velocity. So as I mentioned in the previous slides, that Gordon and Tabor basically they proposed, they explained the why mu is a constant. Actually, that was the first order principle, that mu is independent of area of contact or the normal force of the. But in recent time, as I mentioned you, that the rate and state friction model is more popular than the earlier law. Okay. In this slide, I shall discuss that when a mass slides on a hard surface, it shows the two type of motion. One is called the stick slip motion, and another is called the steady sliding motion. But these two motions are low velocity field. For example, the sliding mass is moving in a range of 1 micron per second, depending on the nature of the surface. So stick slip is basically the mechanical vibration, and which is also obvious in the plot. So it is in stick slip, the mass moves intermittently. Sometimes stick, slip. So this is called the stick slip phenomena. However, this motion disappears at a critical velocity, at a threshold velocity, which is known as the critical velocity. So smooth motion occurs. So if you see the left side plot, then you are seeing that there is still static friction, but the dynamic friction is now constant. That's why it is known as the steady dynamic friction, because here the friction is constant with time. While in stick slip, the force of friction is varying between the maximum and the minimum. So you can say that the both static friction and kinetic dynamic friction during the stick slip change with the time. That's why we see the peak and in this stick slip. So stick slip is recognized by a critical velocity at which stick slip motion disappears. A condition of stick slip is that in order to occur the stick slip, the force of friction must reduce with the velocity. That is very. It means that the strength of the surfaces should reduce as you are applying the external force. Otherwise, in most of the time, if you are applying the external force, then force of friction increases. But during the stick slip, it must decrease the velocity. So velocity weakening, which is also obvious in the plot, that the steady friction, which is reducing as velocity increases. And in velocity strengthening regime, friction, force of friction or steady friction increases with the velocity. So in the experiments, we'll show the both observations. Yeah. So if you see the, as I mentioned you, that stick slip motion is a friction induced vibration, wherein the sliding mass intermittently moves due to application of the external force up to critical velocity. At critical velocity, the stick slip motion disappears. Okay? There are many practical examples of stick slip. Most of the time, stick slip is undesirable because it damages the nature of the surface, quality of the surface during metal cutting. So the the chattering sound during the metal cutting basically is because of stick slip motion. So because of stick slip motion. Similarly, squeaking sound comes out from brake or clutches, especially when the train is moving on rail. When the drivers applies the motion during the cold time, then some squeaking sound comes, and that again because of stick slip. Stick slip is not desirable in high precision machine, where because stick slip is a low velocity phenomena, and there are machines where they are supposed to move in very low velocity, but stick slip is a major issue. So that's why the controlling the stick slip motion is a major challenge in control engineering. But one useful application of stick slip is the violin. It's an instrument song, basically musical instrument, and it generates the melodious sound because of stick slip motion, and that melodious sound interacts because of the between the string and bow. There is a relative motion, there is a friction force, and that is the motion of the bow in very low velocity generates the stick slip. But here the stick slip motion is desirable. Next. This plot I am presenting because I want to show that the stick slip is shown in the. If you see that in Strybeck curve, in boundary regime, you see that there is a contact, almost the asperities contact, and the friction is high in magnitude, but more or less they remain the constants, and that is known as a boundary. That's why it is called the boundary loop. But in mixed regime, you will find that the friction reduces velocity as velocity increases. So in this regime, stick slip is likely to occur because the friction, coefficient of friction or friction reducing with velocity. But in hydrodynamic region, it is clear that the friction again starts increasing. So this is known as the velocity strengthening regime. Both regime is separated by a critical velocity. As I mentioned, that critical velocity motion, the stick slip motion, this appears and steady sliding occurs. Here I shall discuss the modeling in brief of frictional sliding. So generally the standard spring mass what we use in study of vibration, mechanical vibration. But in mechanical vibration, we consider the viscous damper. Here, in spring mass system, we consider the frictional sliding at the sliding interface of the mass, and that is represented here in the that schematic sketch with tau. So one end of the spring is connected with the mass. The free end is given a constant velocity. The stiffness of the sliding mass is represented by the connecting spring A, and it is also assumed that the sliding mass is rigid. So it is a lumped modeling basically. And practically, it is not uh, rigid, but it is in physical sciences the modeling is done in two ways. One is that the lumped modeling, and where the mass of the sliding system is considered as a point, Okay, but in continuum, in the mass is not considered as a point. Instead, it is a distributed in space. That's why the in continuum modeling, mass become function of not only the time but also the space. For example, the wave equation, where the string, because of the disturbance in the string, causes the wave. So here, if you see that the vibration of the mass varies at every point. So there you can write as a assume that that spring mass is consist of the infinite number of the small spring mass systems. So in mathematically, if you go in the limit that the if number of spring mass goes to infinite number, then you will get the continuum equation in the form of wave equation. So that is a basic concept of modeling of writing the equation. Okay, if you want to use the damping medium, you can consider, but here the consideration of friction is very important, because we want to study the effect of friction, but it is the standard spring mass system. So we can write the equation using the Newton's first law, second law of motion, that the net force in the spring generates in the forward direction is opposed by the frictional stress, and that is equal to the mass into acceleration. However, in low velocity, one can neglect if the velocity is very low, then one can neglect the effect of the mass, and that is called the quasi-static or inertia-less sliding, where the inertia is not important. Even it has mass, but because of the very low velocity of the sliding, the inertia has been neglected, and that we do generally that. Using this equation, one can explain that the what is the stick slip instability under quasi-static as well as inertia, considering both conditions. Relaxation, I shall discuss the two friction force I have discussed. One is static friction and dynamic. But in this presentation, I shall show you there is a third type of friction arises in frictional sliding because of the relaxation of the sliding body, that is known as the residual stress, and that is what one of our main outcome of our study last 10-15 years. And there are many applications of the spring mass. This one can use the application in metal cutting, or and also used in this system in rock in geophysics in rock slope instability. Same system is used for explaining the, but basic equation is the same. Okay. Now I shall discuss the fracture and rupture of materials. You know that the fracture is a process of separation of material in at least two parts. So if there is some mass and at least it separates in more than it fractures in more than two parts. So that's why it is known as the fracture. While adhesion, as I mentioned you that the adhesion is a precursor of friction. So here adhesion is just opposite process of fracture, where the free surfaces, in fracture the two surfaces appears. Suppose this is and you are separating, so it's two surfaces. But in adhesion, the same surfaces disappears. So in adhesion, the free surfaces of the two materials merge and disappear. That's why the fracture and adhesion are the opposite process. In one process, two surfaces appear, and in other process, the same surfaces disappears. Okay. In that case, uh, the surface energy, that is because of surface energy, the molecules of the surface, uh, they are more free to adhere, interact with the other surface. That's why they adhere. And surface energy is mainly arises because of hydrogen bond, van der Waals force, or it may be what is called electrostatic interaction, also covalent bonding, depending on what is the nature of the adhering surfaces. So there must be some adhesive in the form of what I mentioned, the hydrogen bond, van der Waals force, etc. So you should visualize the adhesion and surface energy. Again, they are related. So it is a surface energy that of the surface that gives rise to adhesion. Adhesion gives rise to the fractures. And if you can go, the fracture is a process of appearing the two surfaces, and in adhesion, the same two surfaces disappears. In fracture mechanics, there are three modes of fracture. And these modes are known as the mode first, which is the opening mode. Here, if you see again the surfaces, the surfaces basically open. But in second, that is a shear plus. So in plane sliding, that is it is basically the frictional. So if you see that frictional sliding, so it is a mode second basically. And the mode third is you know that the torsion, that tearing, where if you are tearing the page, basically the some paper or the some cloth, thin body, then the tearing you require. So that is basically the torsional uh, uh, rupture, or it is known as the tearing process. But that is also a shear phenomena. Generally, we study the frictional sliding in mode second. So here we are getting clue that that frictional sliding is nothing but a shear mode of fracture. Okay? It may be second or it may be third. So here friction is basically a shear rupture in form of modes second and third, while the role of mode first to assist onset of the sliding. For example, here we'll discuss that the direct shear sliding, where the J block undergoes the direct shear, you will see that the because of the bending moment, the mode first comes into the picture. That will be clear in forthcoming slides. An important characterizing parameter in fracture mechanics is energy release rate, and you might have also heard the name of stress intensity factor. Okay, that is a stress parameter, and this is a energy parameter. You know that in mechanics we study the energy and stress or force. So here same is that. But here we are interested in characterizing the sliding, the nature of the sliding in form of static, dynamic, and residual stresses in terms of energy release rate. But once you get the energy release rate, you can also find corresponding shear stress intensity, means shear stress intensity factors. So what is the definition of energy release rate? Energy release rate is defined as basically the derivative of potential energy. Potential energy is a standard terminology, which is a sum of strain energy in the body and work done by the external force. If you are working, if the external force is acting on the system, then it will become negative. If it is if it is a work done by the body, then it will become so strain energy. This work of external work can be positive and negative. The denominator term B delta is the area of the crack. Delta is the crack length and B is the width of the specimen. So B delta is the area. Okay. One example of showing demonstrating the energy release rate is that this is a very famous experiment, and we do regularly. It is very simple experiments. Take some very deformable material like rubber, elastomers, and you adhere on some hard surface, for example, glass plate or glass surface, and insert a circular wire in the form. So that circular wire you are inserting, then that will cause the propagation of the crack at the intersection, and one can easily measure that the crack length. Once you know the thickness of the wedge and this crack length and elasticity, you need the elastic modulus of the block or the hydrogel block or that deformable material or block. Then using this formula, you can find out the surface energy, which is closely related to the work of adhesion. Work of adhesion is equal to the twice of surface energy, because there are two surfaces. So generally work of adhesion. But there is one term work of rupture. So there is a difference between the work of adhesion and work of adhesion basically characterizes the adhesion process, where the two surfaces merge and disappear. and work of rupture, the two surfaces appear. Another distinguished feature of work of rupture is that the work of rupture will depend on the at what rupture is being done. That is a rate dependent. So here we have done the experiment. We find that work of adhesion also depends on the structure of this hydrogel block. But it is very simple experiment to characterize the adhesive nature of the surfaces. Okay. Work of adhesion can be also determined using the more accurately using the finite element analysis. It is a numerical method to solve the how the crack propagates along the interface. Okay. One can easily measure in this finite element what is the crack length, and again we know that by we can find out the what is the change in the potential energy because of the increase in crack. In that process, you will find that if it is a wedge adhesion experiment where the displacement, a fixed displacement is given, then you see that as crack length increases, the work of adhesion decreases. As crack length increases, work of adhesion. But in constant gravity force is active. Instead of displacement, you are applying a rate. Then you will find that the energy release rate initially remains increases gradually, but a points come where it becomes the catastrophe. So this explains that why a material under the application of a constant force fails suddenly, and in case of the constant displacement, it fails gradually. It's because of the how the energy, strain energy of the body interacts with the crack propagation. And so this can be explained using the concept of fracture mechanics. Before going on frictional behavior of soft solid, I'll discuss some examples of soft solid. As I mentioned earlier, that soft solids are, for example, elastomers, rubbers, contact lens, and human body, like in cartilage. A lot of research is going, especially in the old days, this quality of the cartilage deteriorates. That's why when in later stage of life there is the huge amount of friction force, and that causes the interaction between the joint of the knee joints, and that causes the pain. So because this quality of the cartilage spoils in course of the time. So a lot of research work is going on how to maintain the performance of the cartilage, or even the artificial cartilage being developed. So that is also an example of soft solids. And another in the tire industry, you know that the controlling the friction between the tire and road is very important. Now I will discuss this experiment which we do regularly at VNIT. This experiment is known as the slide hold slide friction experiments. If you see in the schematic space, again, as I mentioned you that the frictional sliding is generally modeled using spring mass models, as I discussed in earlier slides. So that based on that principle, the experimental setup is developed. So if you see the gel block, it is a gel block, okay? And the top surface of the gel block is being glued using the adhesive like Fevikwik, okay? And that is the aluminum plate, so it can be easily glued or adhered with that gelatin gel. And then top surface is connected with a linear slider. This linear slider basically moves with a constant velocity, and that there is a one spring in that is called the cantilever spring is attached with that aluminum plates, and the displacement of that spring is measured by a displacement sensor. But nowadays we don't use the sensor. we use directly the load cell, and that load cell is attached with the top plate of that aluminum plates. No need of because now we have a very sophisticated and a small load cell, and they are very sensitive to measure and enough to study the frictional behavior. So that's why we use the slide. So because if you see that the when the external force is given in the form of constant velocity, then this the gel block, this deforming block deforms, and this is known as the direct shear deformation. And this is the photograph of the actual setup which we have been studying using for last 6-7 years. Still it is working. So if that block is moving in very low velocity range, like in micron range, then you will find the stick slip motion. Okay? In that, if velocity is extremely low, then stick phase will be larger than the slip, which is obvious in the top plot. But if you increase the cooling velocity further, for example, 5 micron to 50 micron, then stick phase, the time of stick phase reduces, and the slip phase also reduces. And there is a critical velocity. As I mentioned that critical velocity, stick slip disappears, and after that, the friction force becomes constant, and that we call the dynamic friction. So first peak of the bottom plot is called static friction, and at the same time in the bottom plot there is no stick because it has been disappeared. So that constant force is known as the dynamic friction. And stick slip motion, you see that the force of friction varies between static to dynamic. That's why it is known as the unstable region. And in where the friction is constant, this is known as the stable or steady sliding. So you know that, and that is separated by a critical velocity, and critical velocity is the nature of the sliding surface. This is an example of slide hole slide where this experiment has been done in not in stick slip. It has been done in stable sliding because we wanted to know that how the peak of the peak of the friction, that is known as the static friction, depends on the shear velocity. But if you see that inset plot, you see that there is a static friction. After that, dynamic friction. And if you stop the dynamic friction, the sliding motion, if you start, then the deformable body, that sliding mass, it relaxes to a non-zero value, and that is known as the residual stress. And in the present experimental, it is obvious that the independent of irrespective of the cooling velocity, the residual stress remains constant. And this is observed in only the soft solid, like highly deformable material like gelatin, or even you can see the rubbers, because these materials undergo large deformation. Their elastic modulus is very low in comparison to the even rubber, uh, 1 or 2 orders. Generally, elastic modulus of hydrogel in kilopascal, and elastic modulus of rubber is in megapascal. Okay, metal have in gigapascal. So practically they are more rigid system, but these are deformable. Okay, so now here we are discussing about the three three type of friction: static friction, which is history dependent, which depends on the aging time and slip velocity. Dynamic friction does not depend on aging time, but depends on slip velocity. Here, residual stress is independent of aging time as well as cooling velocity.
Hello, sir.
Or slip velocity.
Hello.
Now we shall discuss. Now we shall discuss the effect of wetting time. As I mentioned you that if you increase the hold time or time of contact, the peak friction increases because it is history dependent. At the same time, dynamic friction or steady state friction is not changing with cooling velocity or with aging time. but dynamic friction depends on shear velocity or slip velocity. Okay? And this is obvious in this. See that. So effect of shear velocity on friction. In this plot, it is clear that as you increase the shear velocity, then peak increases for the same fixed time of contact, 60 seconds we have considered in this. Dynamic friction also increases. So static friction, dynamic friction depends on slip velocity. Here we have plotted that. In that plot, it is clear that the friction, static friction, varies as a logarithm of a shear velocity. Generally, it has been observed that static friction depends on shear velocity. It varies as logarithm of shear velocity. And similarly, the dynamic friction also depends on shear velocity as well as the concentration of that deformable or gelatin hydrogels. So as far as modeling of friction is concerned, we have proposed the models for soft solid interfaces for predicting static friction, dynamic and residual stress. We have also studied the stick slip process, but still we are studying the how we can improve the stick slip models. We have not yet published that, but these models have been given reference. They have been published. Now coming to fracture mechanics of a soft solid tank, and that is what the main purpose of this talk. Here I mention you that the friction is nothing but a shear slide or mode second, where mode second are of a fracture process. So that we got the idea that one can also measure the frictional properties in terms of the energy release rate using the concept of fracture mechanics. If you see the interface of that direct shear gel block, you find that the interface of the gel block, basically the chains adhere with the substrate, and these chains are responsible for the frictional phenomena. For example, static, dynamic, residual stress. And our models are focused on the how the chains interact with the substrate, and elasticity of the block is also important, but these chains play very important role in controlling the frictional property. So now we see the same phenomena using fracture mechanics. So if you see the rear end of the block, then there is a crack length, and one can easily measure that crack length using the camera. And in that experiment, again you will find the static, dynamic, and residual stresses. Static friction increases with shear velocity. Dynamic friction increases with shear velocity. In this experiment, aging time or time of contact was constant for 60 seconds, and residual stress is also constant. And we know that what is the elasticity property of the gel block, what is the crack length, and what is the corresponding force at static and dynamic. So we have proposed a model for energy release rate for direct shear, and that is published in should be Thakre and Singh. Professor Thakre was my PhD student. So that model basically enables one to determine the energy release rate of the direct shear. So, and the idea of this formula is based on the fact that in direct shear, when you apply a constant force in form of constant velocity, a force in form of constant velocity, the block not only undergoes bending moment but also shear force. So using both type of energy, we have estimated the energy release rate and using the standard definition. So the expression of energy ERR is based on bending energy as well as transfer shear strain of the sliding surfaces. So this is the first expression which correlates the friction and fracture, because most of the time we do the experiments using the direct shear slide. So this formula, this expression correlates the friction and fracture are the same phenomena, but the way it is analyzed, they are different. Friction community uses the frictional mechanics concept, fracture community uses the fracture. So in this slide, we have used the concept of fracture mechanics for predicting the static friction, uh, uh, energy release rate at static, dynamic, and residual. This slide shows that the energy, just like static friction, energy release rate corresponding to static friction also increases with pulling velocity or shear velocity. The energy release rate corresponding to steady dynamic, that also. But energy release rate for residual stress remains independent. Moreover, it also depends on the what is the structure of that deformable or gelatin hydrogel block. So if you increase the concentration, then energy release rate also. But this plot shows that one can also express the static, dynamic, and residual friction magnitude in using in term of energy release. We have also studied the variation of energy release rate during stick slip. As you mentioned that in stick slip, sometimes the sliding mass stick, sometimes slips. So this sinusoidal of motion, we will find the in form of stick slip. Then again measuring the crack length and corresponding force and using the standard expression of energy release rate, we are able to find that the energy release rate for stick slip phenomena as well. So this is one photograph, which may not be very clear, but it shows that we have measured the crack length during the sliding. An interesting plot, the energy release rate we have done in velocity weakening and velocity strengthening. See the in velocity weakening, as velocity increases, energy release rate also decreases. But here we have not shown with the continuous line. The reason is that in velocity weakening, neither static and dynamic friction remains constant. It varies. That is why it has been shown with discrete points. But in velocity strengthening, it again increases, and that has been shown using the continuously. So finally, concluding this, frictional properties such as static, dynamic, residual could also be characterized with fracture mechanics, term of energy release rate. Stick slip phenomena also expressed in term of energy release rate. An important application of this work is that there are variety of material interfaces. Those interfaces undergo the relative motion, frictional, and the behavior of the frictional behavior of those interfaces could also be expressed using the fracture mechanics. For example, the peeling of the material. One can also determine the fracture toughness or energy release rate of that interface. But despite these basic understandings, still there are challenges. In the case of the hard solids, it is very difficult to energy release because in the hard solid we cannot measure the crack. That may be the reason why the frictional approach is more popular, because suppose there are two hard surfaces are sliding, how do you measure the crack length? That is not possible. But now there are some technology like acoustic emission technique has come, so one can determine the crack length even you are not able to see, but based on the generation of the cracking phenomena, sound generates, so that basically instruments detect how the rupture of the interface occurs. But in geological scale, people are able to see the crack length. Another challenge is that the how to characterize the frictional behavior at micro and nano scale using this fracture mechanics concept is still a challenge. Since I don't work in that area, so I'll not comment much. But again, this is an interesting area. So these are the slides, and most of the my references we have published in recent times. We are still working on this problem so that the frictional sliding phenomena could also be characterized in, but the materials are now different. For example, we are now studying the granular material. When the water, the presence of water in granular, that becomes again soft material. So right now we are studying the frictional and fracture behavior of that material. So if you have any question, first I will say that you go through these papers. These papers include the modeling, experiments, what we do here. Then you can also discuss with me, and you know my email ID. That's all from my side. Very sorry that the previous video was not good. I realized. So I thought once again I should start and share with you. So I'll do that. Thank you. कितना चला? Most, हाँ, 40